Today is February 5th, 2025. It is 12:06, and welcome back to our first meeting of the year. We have a pretty stacked agenda today, so we're going to do our best to stay on track. We do have a number of housekeeping items that we'll need to get through first. So, but we don't have a guest speaker, so I think for the most part we can sort of take our time through most of the agenda, so we should be good. Having said all that, this is an important year for the committee, soon to be the commission. With the expiration of our 5-year CEDS document, we have some new team members that have come in. We'll do some introductions and some great projects always going on for us here at OCPC, and we're working with many of you. So once again, this year there's been a concerted effort to sort of evolve our membership a little bit more into a more diverse group of stakeholders that better reflects our regional economy and the OCPC region. And this year, you're going to see we have some business owners at the helm. So, you know, we're trying to do a better job with roping in the private sector into having a voice on the committee. And it's our hope that beyond your important contributions, CEDS will be an opportunity for all of us to stay connected and be involved in the issues that sort of overlap all of the professions that are represented here on the board. So, I guess I'll start quickly. I know Mary's in a meeting, so I just wanted to mention real briefly, you saw some of the issues going on with the federal funding. We did deal with, I think we intended to make a little bit more progress with the SWOT analysis, but I'll tell you, there was, we had some delays with some things because of the issues that have been going on with the federal funding. Mary, I see you walked in. Do you want to pass over you?
No, I think I just had asked Nick just to, thank you. Just to brief this committee. It's been fluid, and as many of you who work in either state, local government, community organizations are all going through the same thing. Our role, and I said this to the staff, and it's been said to our council, we continue to do the work. We will raise how it affects us. And I think the part that's really important, we get about 75% of our funding from federal government. So when there's yin and yang, it puts, I've actually had to put some hold on projects that may affect many communities, but being fiscally responsible. We will continue as an organization and as Old Colony Planning Council to stick with being equitable. Being as best as we can to be representing all of our communities and all aspects of our communities, and that won't change. We will be conscious about whether it affects our funding in any way. Ultimately, we have incredibly talented, experienced staff who continue to do the work and good work that we do. So that's the only piece I wanted just to raise. We'll continue to hold these meetings. In fact, Nick and Don will bring it up. I serve on a Southeastern Mass Representative for the CACC, which gives tax credits. This administration made some substantive changes in how businesses receive tax credits, and my hope is that we'll have someone here for your March meeting or the next meeting, whatever it's going to be, to talk about the changes and how it's made to be more streamlined for businesses, because I'm looking for the businesses on the table. So I will be hunkering back into my office because I've got about 18 more emails to get to, but I will be listening in from my desk. And thank all of you for your volunteer services on the CEDS. You'll see new faces around the table. And probably this is I remember the days, I remember the days there was like 4 of us sitting in that small office, and it was like kind of like me, myself, and I with Bruce Hughes. This is so great to see this organization to grow and have many aspects. So without further ado, I will let you get back to business. So thank you.
Thanks, Mary. All right, on to item 2. So since this is the first meeting of the year, I do think it's helpful if we go around the room to introduce ourselves. As we do that, please just mention your name, what community or organization you represent, maybe your role or title. I think it's okay if we spend a little bit of time doing this, especially since we have new members. And for the new members that are here and on remotely, please just mention that you're new, and let people know who you are.
And speak nice and clear for those who can just can you do this to make sure everybody online is hearing? Okay.
Can everyone online hear us okay? Someone speak.
Yes.
All right,
Perfect.
there we go. All right, we'll start with our prospective
My
chair.
name is Jonathan Jamolis. I'm from the Cape Cod Cafe and Italian Kitchen. And I also represent the Campbell Business Association.
I'm Alicia Siciliano Perry. I own Alluring Concepts, the design and build firm. I'm also on Pembroke Planning Board and the alternate delegate for OCPC, Pembroke as well.
Don Sullivan, Economic Development Director, OCPC.
Cindy Pendergast, NeighborWorks Housing Solutions, I'm Director of our Brockton office.
Andrea Burton, new member, representing Eversource.
In the back too, before we go to.
Thanks. Dennis Lassage, from the Carpenters Union, Regional Manager.
I'm Paul Valella, also from the Carpenters Union. I'm a business rep that covers most of the or all of it.
Hi, Stephanie Eaton from Bridgewater State University. I'm Associate Director in the Division of Operations.
Hi, I'm Sue Murray from Southeastern Economic Development. We're a small business finance source.
Paul Ivano, Senior Grants Development Specialist for Oral Planning.
Jason Hunter, Executive Director of Mass Athletic Great Rock Workforce Board.
Stephanie Danielson, the Director of Planning and Economic Development with the Town of Easton.
John Fay, Planning, Brockton Planning Department.
I'm a Director at Capgemini, IT consultant.
Shane O'Brien, Town Planner for the Town of Bridgewater.
Charlie Seelig, Town Administrator, Town of East Bridgewater.
All right, and everyone online, start with Deborah, if we could.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Deborah Roberts. I'm on the Stoughton Select Board, and I am the president of the Massachusetts Select Board Association.
Thanks, Deborah. Coach Chung, someone?
Valerie Massard, Town Planner for Kingston and Delegate to OCPC.
Rick Jordan, Town Planner, Town of Avon.
Sean Bailey, Senior Transportation Planner, Old Colony Planning Council.
Go-Chan Lee with Old Colony Planning Council.
I'm Pam McCarthy, the Economic Development Director for the Town of Stoughton, and I also am the Grant Manager for all the town departments.
I am Lisa Green, Town Administrator for the Town of Hanson.
I'm Joe Meck. I'm the Procurement Manager at the Brockton Area Transit Authority.
Michael Lambert, Administrator, Brockton Area Transit.
Hi, I'm Laura Buckley, Deputy Executive Director at the Mass Hire South Shore Workforce Board.
All right, I think that's everyone. Well, thanks for all tuning in. Looks like we have a good solid showing on our remote option too, so thanks for tuning in. Moving on to item 3 of our agenda. First, I'd like to thank Jonathan and Alicia for stepping up this year to volunteer as Chair and Vice Chair of the Commission. You know, we all have busy lives, right? So it's great that these folks have been willing to step up and dedicate their own time to serve these roles. I think they both have great experience, both business owners in our region, and I think they'll probably serve a great contribution to the mission of the CEDS in its role. So that being said, the process for moving to accept our new chairman and vice chairwoman requires a simple vote of acceptance by the commission's members with a simple voice vote of the majority. So we'll do 2 separate votes for chair and vice chair, starting with Mr. Jamulis. So would someone like to entertain a motion for his nomination?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made, properly seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Amen. Now you're stuck. All right, moving forward for nomination of vice chair. Is there a motion for Ms. Siciliano Perry? There's a second?
Yeah.
Motion made and properly seconded. All those in favor? All right. Well, thanks everyone for that. Jonathan and Alicia, I know we did a round of intros, but is there something else you wanted to say, maybe about your interest or your experience while you're interested in doing this?
Yeah, I appreciate Nick asked me to be in the committee last year. It was exciting. Going through it, it's like insider information about what's going on around here. And I have an interest in a lot of the towns here. We have business in Brockton, Halifax, Raynham, and Bridgewater. I live in Halifax. And I also have frozen pizzas in August. So I have an interest in what every town is doing. And I want every town to succeed.
Yeah.
And I want development to keep going.
Yes.
So I'm just happy to be part of this. Thank you.
This is my second year on the committee. I enjoy being here from being a business owner and doing stuff for my town. So I get to see both sides and like how we can kind of incorporate it all to make it all work. Where sometimes if you're on one side, just as a business owner or just in the town politics or on a board, like you're not seeing it from both sides of the street. So I feel like I bring a different perspective because I'm looking at it from both sides. And I'm in people's homes every day, so I hear everybody's bitching. So everybody, if there's something wrong in your town, I've probably heard about it. So I get to hear all the time inside information and then get to sway people to understand from things that I've learned from OCPC or on this committee and make them feel better about their own community, which I love to be able to kind of influence people's brains to a happier place.
Yes, very nice.
Well, thanks a bunch. And no, I think in it being the year that we're passing we'll be approving the new 5-year plan. We wanted to try something a little different. We wanted to incorporate some more business owners in the region to provide, sort of a different perspective. I think we've always had that to a certain extent, but I thought, with some new folks at the helm, it'll be good. So thanks. All right, now that that's through, Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours, and you are free to proceed with the agenda.
Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Number 4 on our agenda is the acceptance of meeting minutes. I think Nick sent these out to everybody. If anybody has any questions or edits or comments on this, no, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 5 is the meeting dates. The dates now are March 5th, April 2nd, June 4th, October 1st. We don't meet in the summer, obviously, to vacations and things like that. And this is aligned with the EDA's timeframe for a new 5-year plan, which right now is due in April, right?
Yep.
Okay. So can we get a motion? To entertain a motion for approval of these dates? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
And if I can just chime in on this real quick, I am set to talk about the timeline of the new 5-year document and item 7 in the agenda, but since the deadline for that is what's essentially determined the dates of our next 2 meetings, I just want to mention that given a lot of the uncertainty around the unpredictable federal funding actions, I'm not discounting the possibility that timeline could change, but if that happens and we need to postpone a meeting, they'll all be given advance notice. But right now, these dates have been pretty carefully selected to align with the EDA's required time frame for submitting the new plan. So that's all I got on that.
Okay. Number 6, new committee name and committee terms of reference. So I guess in the past we've been calling this the CEDS committee, which I guess technically is not right. So we wanted to come up with a new name for this committee. So we sent out a poll, and the poll voted for the Old Colony Economic Development Commission.
Yes.
There.
That was the winner. Yeah, so just to add to that, so yeah, CEDS is actually the term we use to refer to our 5-year plan, not us, not the name of the body that oversees it, right? So somewhere along the line, the term CEDS attached itself to the name of the committee, and it's been sort of confusing for us here at OCPC to use the term so loosely or interchangeably. So committees and commissions with individual identities have been standard for regional planning agencies across the state, and this is just an opportunity for us to correct it. Not really a big deal, but all that said, we got a new name. So Old Colony Economic Development Commission, I think by 6 votes, we got it. And for practical purposes, I think it's good because we can call it the EDC for short, which isn't too hard, right? So we'll all try to do our best to get out of the habit of referring to it as the CEDS. It's a CEDS document, but not the CEDS committee. So That's what that's about.
That's punishable if you say CEDS committee.
Yes, you would kick off the committee if you say.
So the second part of this too, where we have to talk about the bylaws a little bit.
Yes.
So some changes to the bylaws this year.
Yes, so it's been some time since this group has updated or reviewed its bylaws. I think 2021 was like the last time anyone really looked at these, and this isn't really anything groundbreaking, but in the spirit of changing our name and starting things off fresh this year, we thought it made sense to just give them a look and have them updated. Obviously, within these terms of reference is the name change to the Old Colony Economic Development Commission, and just a few other things that were no longer consistent with how the commission is set to operate or has been operating. Since our group has grown and has surpassed what was a previous cap of 19 members, one of the changes is lifting that cap as we continue to try to improve district representation. Additionally, it corrects how members and chairs are confirmed, since we no longer elect people at our annual meeting. Now it's more of an informal process that takes place in between one year and the next. And all our meetings going forward will include remote access, so they'll be hybrid. So that said, there will be specific meetings where in-person attendance is strongly preferred, like today, and others that will be remote only, like those. I think we have two. The last two are remote only. But our new terms will require a remote option for folks. So, and those are basically the types of changes that we made here. But like I said, nothing too important, but it was on our bucket list to do.
Let's get off on a tangent. I have a question though. Is every city, every town in the Old Colony district represented in this committee?
Yes, all 17. Yep.
Question,
Yes.
are we commissioners now or are we members?
And what is the difference between a committee and a commission? And what is the difference between a committee and a commission?
I don't know if this is actually a definitional thing, but in my experience, I think a commission serves more of an advisory role. I believe. I didn't really think of that, put a lot of thought into that as to why we would be calling this the commission, but that seems to be fairly consistent when I looked into it, but it was a name change, you know, there wasn't too much thought behind that. But yeah.
How many members do we have out of it?
I think we have 27 or 28.
Wow.
I mean, potentially 2 more, right? But yeah, I think that's where we're at.
Or someone has a question on this.
Pam, you have a question?
Yes, I do. So I'm just looking at page 2 of this document, and originally I was on this for about 10 years, but now that we have Deborah Roberts and I both from Stoughton on this, I just wanted to double check about the voting. So it says under section 2 membership that membership shall be limited to no more than 1 voting member for each municipality, but then down under section number 9, voting, it says, in any proceeding in which voting by members is called for, each member shall be entitled to cast 1 vote. So those seem to conflict with each other.
Okay, well, we can correct that. Thanks for pointing that out. I think it's the former. I think if there's 2 people from one community, the community will be responsible for having 1 vote on whatever the matter is. So thanks for pointing that out. I'll make a note of that, and then I suppose we can probably approve it at our next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then what we'll do is, Mr. Chairman, we'll take a vote on naming the committee, and we'll take a separate vote. We'll table that for next meeting, take a separate vote on passing the bylaws the next meeting.
Nick, just before you go on, because I think what Stephanie raised was a good question, that we should at least have the definition within the bylaws, determining the bylaws are what eventually is the rules of how we function in this committee, commission. It should be defined in that, and whether, I don't think there's a state law that says commission or committee. I think it's this bylaw that will determine what it means to be a commission or a committee.
Okay.
Follow what I'm saying?
Yep.
Just for clarity, I think it raises a good point.
All right.
All right, so can I get a motion to approve the committee's name of Old Colony Economic Development Commission?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's approved. Number 7, document roadmap. So Nick, you wanted to cover some information about the CEDS.
Yep.
And our plan of executing this document next week.
Sure. So as you all know, every 5 years, OCPC renews its 5-year economic development blueprint for the region, and this happens to be the time our existing document expires. So we wanted to give a quick refresher about the CEDS, focused on the why, as in, the why we have to do this, and outline what the course will be for getting a new document in time for an anticipated April deadline that's set by the EDA. So because the OCPC region is an EDA designated economic development district, what's referred to as an EDD, what we refer to as an EDD, they provide annual funding for economic development planning and project development in the region. And as such, we're required by the feds to lead a locally based, regionally driven economic development planning process that involves engaging and collaborating with our regional stakeholders to essentially establish and implement an economic development roadmap. And in that effort, it's the Old Colony Economic Development Commission that is primarily responsible for approving this guide, including its oversight and its annual implementation. So that is why we do this, and why the expiration of the 2025 document calls for us to do this now. That said, what can we all expect in the next few months? Well, as I've mentioned, the deadline for us to submit a draft to the EDA will be sometime in April. And the reason we've scheduled consecutive monthly meetings from February to April is so that we can share our ongoing progress with you as we complete individual sections. I'll get into what's been done so far when I guess we get into item 9 on the agenda. We talk about that, but since our meetings are only 1 hour and there's so much time for back and forth, we are likely to solicit input from the commission in between meetings through email. So expect that we'll be communicating periodically to receive feedback on individual sections as they are incrementally completed. So what comprises the document? Essentially, there's a SWOT analysis, which indicates the district's strengths, opportunities, and weaknesses and threats. There's data analysis looking at trends and projections. There's a goals and objectives section, and basically a project-based chapter that cites short and long-term projects for communities to pursue your project list. So for us and for our communities, this document is really going to serve as sort of a wish list and a go-to resource for where we can look for projects and future growth. I will mention that the document is going to be sort of overhauled to be effective and useful in its purpose. There's no question that it needs to be sort of simplified. So anticipate that the new 5-year plan will be streamlined, I'd say more substantive and far more appealing than past documents. And lastly, while we have no real reason to expect any changes at the moment with all the actions being taken to freeze funding and send court orders and that sort of thing, we're not so sure how that might implicate our timeline on this. But again, I think I mentioned if things do start to implicate our CEDS timeline, we'll let you know and adjust the timeline accordingly. So, John, did I miss anything?
So yeah, just to add a little bit. So every year we submit an application to EDA on our work program. So we are now going into our first year of another 3-year cycle. So likely that application, we're invited to submit an application. That invite is likely to be delayed. So what's going to happen is our work program probably won't start. I'm assuming, I anticipate sometime maybe June for the next cycle. And part of the CEDS work is incorporated into that year as well. So what we plan on doing is have the 4 major sections that's ready to go. It won't be compiled yet, but it'll be ready to go. So like Nick said, it's likely that we won't need that CEDS developed until June. But we'll have it ready in draft form, and then when we go through all the major sections of it, we'll compile it so that everyone can see what it looks like. And again, it's going to be more. The last one was nearly 200 pages. EDA doesn't want a 200-page document. They want something that's easy to. They take this to Congress. They use it as it's like a tip plan. So we need to streamline it, make it look visually appealing So a lot of graphics. The data will be in a graphic form, easy to read, easy to digest, that kind of thing. So, yeah, we'll have some delay. On the existing projects we have in-house, I really don't see a delay on reimbursements maybe. But those, my personal opinion, they're not gonna be able to disrupt those existing contracts and the funding we already have. It's the new stuff that's gonna come out, where we're gonna see delay on that. They're gonna be much more streamlined at looking at projects and what we're trying to do. And, you know, in our district representative represents 4 blue states. So we're gonna have a little bit of showmanship going on there, a lot of politics going on in terms of what the IRC looks like and how they're going to look at our projects. So we have to be mindful of that. But moving forward, you know, we don't really anticipate any problems. Most of what we do and the EDA and what we're doing here is fits into the new administration's priorities. So I really don't have any major issues with that.
So you mentioned SWOT analysis. Where are you getting that? So SWOT analysis is the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Yep.
So where do you get that information?
So, so I talk about this later on, but I know I think our original plan was to have like a first draft of the SWOT for us today. But I think that the preliminary step before we even get to that is looking at data, crunching data and numbers. So, you know, between last meeting and this one, you know, we've been spending a lot of time on generating some data, looking at data to draw some findings from that we can use to pinpoint exactly what the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are. So that's what we've been doing over the past few weeks, is kind of gathering data and looking to see what we can pull from the data to draw conclusions or any findings about what it is this region needs or that it doesn't have. So
do we have feedback on that?
Yes, absolutely. So I get into this later on, but what we're going to be doing, I'll mention it again when we get to the item, but I shared with,
just go to the item.
That's okay. I was going to say, I've shared with everyone that some of the data that's already been collected. We're not going to have a ton of time to discuss the whole thing today, but I think after this meeting, we encourage you to sort of dive into that stuff. Let us know if you have any other thoughts, if there's anything else we're missing. It's not a complete set of data. We're still going to be looking at other topics, like median sale price, agriculture. There's just a couple different things. But if you think that something's glaring or maybe inconsistent, let us know. So take a peek at it, and we want you to chime in.
So we'll go back to number 8. Do you want to talk about also ongoing projects?
Yeah, so we have a few items worthy of mention today. I probably won't cover all of them listed on the agenda. This is the first meeting of 2025, so you know we're definitely starting on a busy note. Nothing on the docket is particularly new. However, lots of progress has been made on many of our ongoing projects. Having said that, the state's new FY26 one-stop round is now open. We're going to have mentioned that a little later in the agenda, but we have our sights on a number of projects that we hope to help communities with by partnering on some great opportunities. So I'll start with Avon. First and foremost, the Avon application to the EDA for funding design and engineering services for sewer at the Avon Industrial Park has been submitted. We had expected to officially hear back from the EDA on this some weeks ago. Not surprisingly, their internal review committee has undergone some changes, and there's been some delays in the review stage. So we hope to find out soon whether or not the application is on track for funding. So hopefully we'll have more news on that soon. Regional, commercial, and industrial site inventory. We've been working on this and made a lot of progress on it as of late. You'll recall this is another project being funded by the EDA to essentially identify commercial industrial areas that are suited for expansion or economic development opportunity in the region. And all of the priority areas that we're looking at for this have been established at this point, and data is still being collected that will help sort of measure the site's potential for growth. So things like projected build space, potential jobs added from expansion, and new firms that projected to come in. I think once more progress is made on this front, next steps will probably be to format the information on our website with the goal of having this be used as a helpful resource for communities and businesses seeking to relocate or find a home. So work is continuing on that. We're still working on the town of East Bridgewater to carry out our business development initiative focused on strengthening its local economy. At this point, we've all but completed our priority development site inventory to pinpoint important parcels of land that can pose opportunity for new development. And I'd say that we're just about wrapped up on the survey initiative that we developed for businesses and consumers to fill out that will help the town foster a better commercial environment. We did let the survey run a little bit longer to generate a better collection of responses, and we're getting close to having the number we want, so to have an adequate sample of responses. So work remains ongoing with that in our business resource guide, which will receive more attention over the next few months. Lastly, I think the other project, regional project, I should say, non-EDA that we have going on is the Brownfields Assessment Grant. It's been a lot of progress on this. Right now we have, I think, 8 approved sites by the EPA, with 1 still pending eligibility in Whitman, and a number of sites that have already undergone assessment activities, including both phase 1s and phase 2 assessments. So we're always looking for new sites as we have the funding to pursue more. So we're always open to any suggestions if you know of any other contaminated properties that we can look into. All that said, we just wrapped up Q1 of year 2, and at this point have eaten up roughly $94,000 of our budget, which is approximately 20%. So I guess we did get a slow start, but for a 4-year grant, I'd say we're on pace and have some great new sites to work with now, especially in Easton and Kingston. I know Val, you're on here, and we're looking forward to the continued work with our consultant from Verdantis. So I think that's it. Don, did I anything else that I might have missed? Okay.
So the brownfields is plenty of money to go around, so.
Yeah, I think we have some good sites. I've kind of beaten the drum on this, but I think if there are communities out there that have contaminated properties that either haven't been assessed or there's a belief or assumption that they could be contaminated based on their history, we're more than willing to meet or have a conversation about looking into that as a property that we could assess for contamination, so we can put them on a track for redevelopment in the future. It's kind of the purpose of the program. So if you're a community and you have what you suspect could be a brownfield site, please let us know, and we'll work with you. Tracy Costa from Verdantis is our consultant. She's our QEP. So she's working with us on this, and if there are any sites that, again, are in mind for you, we'll be happy to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, just to add one other thing. So that's EPA, right? So usually new administration coming in, there's going to be some changes there, but brownfields cleanup, redevelopment is a priority that fits with the new administration. So we don't see any issues with the brownfields funds. So we should be moving on track with that.
Sounds good.
One more question. All the things you talked about here, are they going to be in the new strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so.
Just because they're underway.
So there's going to be a list of about 12 priority projects. So it'll be EDA specific type projects. Some of these projects, if they're mixed use development, that's not something that EDA entertains. Housing is sort of toxic when they talk EDA funds, but we will have a longer list of projects that support economic development, and those brownfields locations will be in a longer list of projects, kind of an appendix to the document.
Yeah, we have some, with respect to the brownfields, we have some brownfields properties that we know about in our region that we've looked at, like in East Bridgewater, for future redevelopment, areas that we know are contaminated, but that we'd love to see redeveloped one day, as does the community. So that'll be in there. But elements from this, absolutely.
Questions?
Just for this group's purposes, Brockton has their own brownfields money, and this would not include that. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, they have their own. You guys have your own brownfields thing going.
Yeah, they got their own.
I mean, it's just good
to.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're like across the street. Nope. To the
And it's available to all the communities in the district. That's one initiative going on, and they've got their own funds.
Thank you.
Can't double bill.
So these will be on the strategy, we vote on the strategy.
Correct. But yeah, the strategy will be the completed 5-year document.
To have all these,
It will like themes, like so brownfields. We will be talking about brownfields in the document. Absolutely. Will it be like these specific sites we're targeting? Yeah, some of them, sure. Not all of them. But yeah, a lot of the projects we're assessing now under brownfields will be mentioned in the document. Yeah.
still trying to wrap my head around how this works.
A lot to know.
Yeah.
So anyway, so if you know what a TIP is, a transportation improvement plan, this document needs to be developed and to be submitted to EDA. So that when we go after money from EDA, we need this document. Without this document, we can't get funds. So we try to put most of our key projects in there that are specifically related to fit into the EDA objectives. So we're gonna have a list of, some of it will be a wish list, but these we think are real projects. And then there'll be a longer list of projects that support economic development, transportation type projects, brownfields project that support economic development. They may not exactly align with EDA, but something does happen, we can point to it and say, yeah, it's in the document. And how does it fit? So our goals and objectives, those are goals and objectives that will tie, they'll be loose. There'll be general goals and objectives so that we can pivot at any point in time. So if the things change at the federal level, we're able to have fluidity in our plan, and able to go after these projects. So you'll see that all in the document.
Okay. Moving on to number 9. You want to talk more about the
yes.
SWOT analysis?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I started to talk about this a little bit, hopefully you've all had a chance to go through the packet of data that was emailed to all of you earlier this week. Like I said, we were hoping to have a complete draft of the SWOT analysis for all of you today, but you know, we had that federal funding issue and that sort of thing, so we got a little sidetracked, but we were able to gather a whole bunch of data and have that ready. And I'd say we do have a working draft at the moment, but it's just not quite ready to be shared. So that said, the initial first step for us anyway is collecting the data to be used for the SWOT in the data assessment section of the document. Most of the data we gathered was from the census, American Community Survey, and any workforce or labor-related information came directly from the state's Workforce Data Hub through the Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development. So those seem, so far, 2 primary sources. So this was a lot of data mining, and it'll be a great tool or a resource for us here going forward, I think, working on all types of projects. And, you know, since we only do this every 5 years, the data mining is absolutely necessary. And next steps for us are to incorporate any findings from the data and work them into things that we can identify as strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats. So there are a few glaring things that have popped out in the data, and I'll try to scroll through this quickly. I wasn't intending to go through a whole PowerPoint, but I can just sort of skim through it. I think a few things that are probably pretty important for us to know and to factor into our future planning and decision making. And one, I'd say while there is population growth and labor force growth expected in our communities in the short term, around 2030, you know, these populations peak and then begin to steadily decline in most of the districts. So, you know, the impact something like this could have on jobs, housing, other things is worth thinking about. 2, in educational attainment, the district trails the state's average for people with a bachelor's degree or higher by 7%. I guess this could be a little surprising for folks given the institutions we have within our region, but certainly worth noting. Our highest employed industries are healthcare and social assistance, retail, accommodation and food services, construction and manufacturing, rounding out 5th. And our highest paid jobs are wholesale, finance and insurance, construction, technical services, and manufacturing. So that said, with the exception of construction, all these sectors have shrunk from 2010 to 2020 and experienced job loss. So these were just some of the things we plucked out of there, and we'll be doing a deeper dive when we write up the final SWOT analysis. But I did want to open it up for some questions or feedback on things. I can try to skim through this a little bit so you can see a little bit about what we're able to put together. This is population growth and projections. You'll see most communities, these are climbing until around 2030. Some communities a little bit before that, then it starts to come down a bit. All communities are showing growth from between 2010 to 2020. The average growth rate for the district was 6.6%, and there was an 8.1% increase in the total population. So there's limited growth through 2030, but by 2040, again, that's when you start to see things decline for most of the district. Racial and ethnic profile, so between 2010 and 2020, there's been a 7% increase in minority populations, and through around 2030, I would say, most of the district is continuing to diversify. Certainly the communities abutting Brockton. That's just a different chart showing you a similar story. This is the age profile distribution. Try to go back and forth here. It's not the best chart, but the biggest 45 to 54, that category seems to be our largest aging population. You'll see, reflecting some of the trends in our population numbers. The 0 to 9 group is coming down, and there was a big jump, 60% surge over 10 years among people within the 65 to 74 population. This is a chart that shows, the educational attainment we talked about. While we're 7% behind the state on bachelor's degree or higher, we are a little bit ahead of the state with high school diplomas. So have that reflected here. So it's, not the worst thing, but we're doing better with, our local education, K through 12 education, but we're lacking behind in higher ed. Median household income. So another interesting one. So the region, our district exceeds the state's average MHI by more than $15,000, but trails the state in per capita income by less than $1,000. And obviously between 2010 and 2020, or is it 2023? 2023, I'm sorry. All 17 communities have shown pretty significant growth in income. Here's a different chart. Kind of shows you where a lot of the growth has taken place. Some big numbers here. So that's I got. Community characteristics. Nothing groundbreaking here. I think the average travel time to work for communities in our district was between 30 to 35 minutes. And what's not reflected here, between 2010 and 2023, there was an increase in the amount of workers who commute within the county they reside in. I believe it was 53% in 2010. In 2023, in 2023, it went up to 62%. Another chart, jobs and employment projections, reflects to a certain extent the population shifts. This is by community, so these are jobs in the community from 2010 through projections through 2050, and you'll see these numbers start to come down. In some communities, they continue to go up. You'll see in Brockton, employment numbers continue to rise through 2050, those projections. But in other communities, they start to trickle down. We got same area between 2010 and 2020. 14 communities saw job increases. Jobs mostly projected to peak by 2030 and decline through 2050 in most communities, not all. And On the same topic, labor force and unemployment, there's been 9.5% overall average growth rate that outpaces the population growth rate only by a small percentage. This is the unemployment rate, which is kind of an interesting thing to have because of all the chaos we've had from 2010 to 2023. There's COVID, there's the really weak economy in 2010, so you see it coming up and down, but today, we're like right behind the state average for unemployment. The state's average is 3.4, and we're at 3.5. So, and this here gives you a glimpse of what that's like. Plymouth County, the orange, in the state, and OCPC. Here's employment by industry. So these numbers represent the amount of jobs, the number of jobs. You'll see, no surprise, healthcare and social assistance is at the top, followed by retail, trade, and then accommodation, food services. Construction, look at the bump in construction. In manufacturing, look, it's coming down from 2010 to 2020. So there's been a huge 80% growth. Some things that are worth noting, I think here, 80% growth in construction from these two timeframes. While healthcare and social assistance seems to be the largest industry, there was 22% growth. So some growth, not too much. But I think one of the trends, and it's reflected in the next slide, it seems that between 2010 and 2023, among some of the higher paying fields, like wholesale trade, manufacturing, finance, and insurance, there's been some job loss. So those are fields that aren't necessarily growing. If you look at wages by industry, wholesale trade, you'll see is the top. It's been an 87% increase in accommodation and food services, 86% in administrative and wage services. Just the last slide. And then wages by industry. So I think one of the things that we're noting from this is that some of the best paying sectors in our region are starting to bleed jobs. So we'll be watching that. If I go back and manufacturing and finance and insurance, professional technical services, some of these, while they pay good, they haven't grown. They've lost jobs between 2010 and 2023. So it's, yes.
And I'm assuming all these are aggregated at the OCPC level right here.
Yes.
Because I've done some of my own personal data, and I know manufacturing is booming in Rockland still. So I wonder if they're migrating towards the center here.
Yeah, I would say so. Where did it fall on, was it 5th? Whoops, wrong direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Yeah, so we'll have to connect on that. Maybe it's something we missed. Could have been something I overlooked. But
That's the district versus the state. So we do have breakdowns for each individual municipality, so we can look at those numbers, but it's not reflected in that.
Right.
Yeah, so we
while it may be declining, regionally,
right,
there are some shiny spots.
Absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I might have went over my head. Okay, and then the other thing, probably no big shocker, but in almost all of the industries in our region, they all pay less than the state average in those same industries. So, if you look at some of these, be great if there were some way to get our industries to match or get closer to what the state average is for paying wages for that same sector, that same industry. But that was just something else we observed here. So again, you see the drafting on here. This is the beginning of gathering data, and this is a part of what will comprise the SWOT analysis for us to develop findings and narratives that we can pinpoint for strengths and weaknesses. But that's what we've got at this point. So
okay. Any questions on that? I think the most telling slide is the population decline. And we're building all this all this now, it's gonna decline in 15 years. Social services, health services, housing, and that's why this community, I think, is important too, is we need development in our communities so we don't lose the population, right? We need to identify sites to develop, so they stay working in your towns and not go somewhere else. So I think that's important.
Yep. No, I think in like for short term, like, because, it's a 5-year document, right? So yeah, the short-term growth is a good thing, labor force and population, right? So, but we see what happens around 2030 and that has implications, right?
So this 5-year document is going to help us the next 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Set us on the right path.
Yep.
Was all this data from the specific survey data or any census data, or? Is it
Yeah, so it's, it was Census American Community Survey, and the labor data was all from the state's Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development.
Someone has a question online.
Oh, yes, Dan.
Hi, I just had a couple quick questions. I know we're ending the meeting in a minute, but if there was a way to add to educational attainment, education through tech schools or community college, I think that would be a better snapshot of what's going on, because I think with the cost of education, there is a shift towards people doing things like apprenticeships and things like that. So I don't know if there's a way to find that type of data. And then the other thing was under the commuting characteristics. I think it would be good to know too, the people that are actually working virtually from home, because you don't really know, when it says 62% of commuters work within the county they reside in, does that mean they're working at their home, but the place of employment is outside the community? You don't know whether it's even in the same state when you look at virtual workers. And then the final thing I wanted to mention is I understand that there's only 2 communities that aren't in Plymouth County. I believe Stoughton and Avon. So I know that I understand why all the comparisons are made to Plymouth County averages. But for the sake of, just my community, I was wondering, even if it's not in the official report, is there a way to get some of that information from Norfolk County?
There would be. That would be sort of a large task. But yeah, I think we have most of our district, is it 3/4 of our district is Plymouth County? We have
all but 3 communities.
All but 3 communities, so.
Okay, 3. Yeah, I know we're an outlier. or even if you could point us towards, the data sources and, for our own sake, we could look that up.
No, point well taken. Point well taken. To the extent time and resources allow, we will try to incorporate as much as we can. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Where do you want time? We'll take 2 minutes and talk about any new business, especially the one stop.
Sure. So, Paul, did you have
Yeah, sure. I can just mention some key dates for the one stop. So the FY26 round is now open for the expression of interest. It actually opened on the 24th of January. So folks that are thinking about projects, get your expression of interest in. I was actually on a webinar yesterday, and they did mention slight change from last year. The urban agenda program has moved out of the one stop. So now it's own separate application. So just keep that in mind. And then the other big thing, which I'm sure you guys are going to be happy about, is the IGS system is now 2 times faster, according to Lon Baker. So I know there were a lot of issues with loading applications last year, so it should go a lot more smooth. And I know from experience, I had to put one in for the Downtown Brockton Association of Small Boys. So that'll be exciting. So get those in, you'll get your feedback on those. And then the full application period will be from May 5th, 2025 to June 4th, 2025. So
I'm sorry, what was the June?
June 4th.
the dates are on the packet too? Well, you know what? I can send these out. So related to this, on February 10th, the Executive Office of Economic Development is having, the one-stop team is doing a presentation, a webinar for the OCPC region on the one-stop program, the important key dates, how it works, that like the important deadlines and timeframes, how they score applications, and how the whole process works. So that'll be really good to participate in. So if you're joining us from one of our communities, please register. Be sure to. I'm probably going to send out another notice before the end of the week because it's coming Monday at 1. Be sure to register for it because they like to have head counts for this. So if you are going to attend, just make sure you register, and it should be good. You'll have some good information to take away as you develop your applications for the one-stop portal. So.
Any questions, comments, anything?
I think that's it.
All right, before I join, I just want to say that it seems like a very motivated OCPC. So take advantage of it. Use it as a resource. All right, helping communities, towns. With that, if there's nothing else, anybody? Can I get a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
Approve?